Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I want to welcome all of you who have joined from locations far and wide. We have folks from Canada and the US, including Hawaii. We have Central and South America, Europe, Australia, and Ukraine. My name is Aneta Huko, or in Ukrainian, Aneta Hevko, and I'm the new CEO of the Ukrainian Catholic University Foundation, where our sole purpose is to raise funds, friends, and support for this amazing institution of higher learning, the Ukrainian Catholic University, or as you'll hear us refer to it often, UKU, using the Ukrainian pronunciation of the acronym. We come together today just after acknowledging the 2-year mark for the full-scale invasion and war in Ukraine, and the 10-year mark since the Revolution of Dignity, the annexation of Crimea, and the fighting that began in the eastern regions of Ukraine. We're also at a point where it can feel a bit disheartening sometimes to see that aid for Ukraine is being used as a political pawn. Or we hear reports of people who are suffering from war fatigue from those who are observing the war. And I'm going to tell you that here, given all that backdrop, the Ukrainian Catholic University serves as a beacon of light, as a shining example of the indefatigable spirit of Ukraine and Ukrainians. Despite these challenging circumstances, UKU continues to deliver on its mission of educational excellence and using their service model to develop ethical leaders for the future of Ukraine's civic society. And that's why leaders from Ukraine and internationally, from President Zelensky and the First Lady, to other Ukrainian leaders of Ukrainian universities, to US senators, come to UKU. They come to feel the magic, to see it, to see what really happens on this campus, to learn from the community of UKU, and to engage in UKU in many civic projects. Today, you're going to hear from the UKU leadership, some students and others, about the really meaningful ways that this community is helping to heal the wounds of war by keeping up with the demands of providing a world-class academic environment. I hope you'll come to understand why these leaders come to UKU, why the students excel, and how they all help. You'll understand how UKU truly meets the moment, or even flourishes in the moment, to use the words of Archbishop Boris. So how UKU meets the moment in this very critical time in Ukraine, and how it's poised to continue to meet the moment in the future. Now, just a couple housekeeping notes before we get on with the program. We'll have a formal program for about an hour, and then we will turn to a Q&A. You will notice that your mics are muted. It's not that we don't want to hear from you, but that's an easier way to manage the process. So we'll have a Q&A at the end, and you'll notice the chat is open. So please, as we go along, if you have questions, post your questions, and we'll do our best to answer all your questions by the end of our time together. So now, as we turn to the formal program, it is my great honor to introduce to you the newly appointed rector of UKU, Dr. Taras Dobko. He's an esteemed academician in applied sciences and philosophy, but over the past 25 years of his tenure at UKU, Dr. Dobko has proven himself as a skilled lecturer, administrator, leader, strategic thinker, and I'll add on a personal note, a wonderful human being. So Taras, now I invite you to lead us in our opening prayer and also your welcoming remarks. Thank you, Taras.
Thank you so much, Aneta. Слава Ісусу Христу, слава Україні. Dear friends of Ukraine, дорогі друзі, beloved friends of the Ukrainian Catholic University. Let us begin our meeting and conversation by joining each other in our Lord's Prayer for Ukraine, for all those who risk their lives in defending our country and the dignity of its people, for all those who suffer, who are filled with grief, and who are in need of our solidarity and compassion, for all those who show humanness and who are the source of strength and light for others despite the darkness of the war. Let us also embrace with our prayer 27 fallen heroes of our community and also their families. So all these beautiful moments you have just seen in the slideshow, so we owe them to those heroes. So we will always remember their sacrifice. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Dear Lord, bring long-awaited peace for our country and its people, peace which is just, lasting, and filled with hope. Grant wisdom and courage to all partners of Ukraine to drive out their fear and show commitment to make a real difference and help Ukrainians to save their country from the wickedness of the aggressor. Bless all those who care from inside their heart about Ukraine and who generously contribute to the mission of the Ukrainian Catholic University with your abundant grace and the gifts of the Holy Spirit. Amen. A few days ago, we marked the second year of the full-scale Russian invasion in Ukraine, and this all-out war has already resulted in a lot of destruction and suffering. But Ukrainians stay strong, resilient, and hopeful. Yesterday, I met with a group of 20 UKU students, leaders, who have a very clear answer, believe me, to the most important question of today. What are you doing for Ukraine's victory? They represent 6 student initiatives and organizations which in different ways help the Ukrainian armed forces. They produce special candles, power banks, heating devices, drone batteries, camouflage nets. They also organize fundraising events for support and rehabilitation of wounded soldiers. They're dedicated, mature, and responsible young men and women of whom we should be very proud. I am very proud to lead the university who trains and forms such young people. I was moved and strengthened by their stories and the fruits of their self-giving service. They keep working for already 2 years. No fatigue is there. So these are people with dignity. The future of Ukraine depends on such people with dignity. Recovering and promoting the sense of God-given dignity of the human person is what UKU is all about. Let me finish by quoting from the valedictorian address of our graduate Lyubov Kurtyak at UKU winter commencement a few weeks ago, a quote which literally makes my skin crawl. She mentioned that while preparing for the speech, she asked her classmates and other graduates what they learned from studying at UKU. And the answer was, I quote, "We have learned not to be afraid of death." These are words of 25, 30 years old Ukrainians who know from their lived experience that their dignity is rooted not in wealth, power, or self-glory, but ultimately in the eternity, in God Himself, and that their dignity could not be taken away from them. Thank you so much for your support. We are really grateful that you are with us. Thank you.
Thank you for those words, Taras, and the reality of being in the midst of a war. Next, I would like to introduce Yaroslav Pritula, Senior Vice Rector for the university. Yaroslav has a wealth of experience in research and teaching in institutions, world-class institutions across the globe. And he's also had a number of stipends and research programs that he's done both in Ukraine and Europe and the US, including 2 Fulbright scholarships. And so he's also somebody who enjoys gardening and construction. And I think he's going to share with us a little bit about the world that he's working together with the rest of the leadership at Uku to build, and the garden and the seeds that they're sowing in the garden that we call Uku. So, Yaroslav, please, you're up next.
Thank you very much, dear Aneta. Dear friends of Uku, thank you for being with us today and all the time. It's my big pleasure and big honor talking to you today. And when we decided what to present to you in this report, we had a lot of challenges to choose what to show. Indeed, some days here at Uku are so intensive and full of events that we can do a daily Uku presentation. At the same time, those 2 years can be expressed and compressed by 3 letters: war. So we decided to present you today what resonated us the most. And indeed, I would like to start to talk about our Uku community on the front line. Please, next slide. Our friends, our students, our graduates, all of us defend our country in different ways, but some decided to do this in the most direct way. They went on the front line. And we pray for them, we work for them, and we support them by all possible means. On the photo, you see this smiling soldier. This is Alexander Yapchanka, a pediatrician, expert in healthcare, and professor at the Uku School of Public Administration. He started the invasion. Joined armed forces from the very beginning of this full-scale invasion. He was wounded. He is undergoing treatment and rehabilitation now, and want to return to the front line soon. And 30 graduates, 21 students, 13 employees, and faculty members are currently on the front line. Next slide, please. During the last 2 years, thanks to your generous donations, we were able to support and help tens of thousands of people. Indeed, almost $9 million was raised for humanitarian aid. And as you may see from this slide, the most of the funds we decided to help with medications to support internally displaced persons, volunteer organization, and special programs for children's health development. Sometimes funds can't solve the current problem. Please, next slide. And when money doesn't help, our students help. And as already Taras mentioned in his introduction, our students form different initiatives. They did thousands of trench candles, tons of dry food, hundreds of power banks. So a lot of support from our students. And indeed, it's not only a support, it's a learning environment, how they can learn from volunteering. Indeed, one of the direction of Uku development, please, next slide, we try to direct our educational programs and courses to service learning. Over 30 courses were developed at Uku within last 2 years that use service learning as a pedagogical tool. Students work with local communities and do project-based learning, when they help those communities in some way, as it's technical stuff or it's, I don't know, design thinking or some management or some courses from sociology. And now Uku is a coordinator of big multi-year project which teach other universities how to use service learning. Our faculty, students from Faculty of Applied Sciences apply their technological knowledge to support our military. Indeed, together with partners, we developed virtual reality simulator to train personnel to work with ammunition. We do several R&D projects on sound and video processing. Just 2 weeks ago, a startup founded by our graduates signed a contract with one of the world's most advanced technology-led defense company, Bayer Systems. And I hope soon our military will receive support from this startup. Next slide. Not only applied sciences, law school, students and faculty of our law school organized UKU Legal Clinic for those who suffered from the war in legal issues. These are internally APD seeking for compensation for damaged buildings or veterans, especially injured veterans who need legal support to receive funds and care about them. And today I hope you will have a story about that from a student who works in legal clinic. Thousands need psychological support, and our students, under supervision of professors from Department of Psychology and Psychotherapy, provide consultations for those in need. Indeed, this Monday, this week, UKU hosted a gathering of Ukrainian universities to discuss the issues of psychological well-being of students. More than 30 universities represented by rectors, vice-rectors, took part in this one-day practical conference organized under the patronage of the First Lady of Ukraine and her initiative Yakte, or How Do You Do, as in English. And it's again 1,000 people who receive those consultations. Next slide, please. And this is what is extremely important for our mission. Our priests provide spiritual support for those in need. And in cooperation of our School of Theology and School of Health Science, we developed a program on medical chaplaincy. Even in these times of big uncertainty and turmoil, we continue to be leaders in education. Next slide. I'll not talk about high scores, S&T equivalent scores when students enter UKU. We are #1 in Ukraine according to this entrance score ranking. But I want to talk about international competitions that our students won within just last year. Students of Ethics, Politics and Economics program received 2 awards on regional Model UN competition held in Germany. A team of students from UKU School of Law took first place at the European GDPR Moot Court. A team of students and teachers from Applied Sciences won 3rd place at the international competition Home Robot Open Vocabulary Mobile Manipulation Challenge within one of the most prestigious conference on artificial intelligence, NIPS 2023. The startup of our recent graduate, Andriy Kusey, Let's Data, last May won a pitch competition at the largest American investment event, Select US 2023 in Washington, D.C. Indeed, this startup now helps our Cabinet of Ministry, our Ministry of Defense to defend our cyberspace. We also increase our capacity on research. Just this year, in 2024, UKU already received 2 major multi-year research grants. Next slide, please. One from these grants are from Simons Foundation for the development of the scientific community and research capacity of Lviv. Another one is from German government for creating a research group and a center for research on violence that will be led by Yaroslav Hrytsak. We continue fruitful cooperation with University of Notre Dame. Indeed, 2 weeks ago, UKU, jointly with University of Notre Dame and Ludwig Maximilian University in Munich, organized a symposium, Challenges of Russia's War Against Ukraine and the Ethical Principles of Sustainable Peace in Europe. It took place in Munich right before Munich Security Summit. And we just have a new initiative from our Center of Entrepreneurship that in collaboration with Stanford Graduate School of Business and thanks to a generous donation from Natalia Anon and support from USAID, launched a free educational program for 42 selected Ukrainian small and medium-sized business owners. They were selected from almost 1,000 applications. The Stanford Ignite Ukraine program. First, they have 4 weeks online program, and in few weeks, they all go to Stanford, to Silicon Valley, for 3 weeks in-person study on Stanford campus. So this is what we did or we do now, but about our plans. Indeed, last year we made an exercise of reworked our strategy to respond to new challenges of Ukraine and the world. And we came up with new strategic framework that rely on 4 main initiatives: healing the wounds of war, a moral proposal for the human person of the 21st century, on rebuilding and renewing Ukraine, and on promoting Ukraine and the international agenda. Indeed, this strategic framework gives us, and what we developed based on this strategic framework, as 6 focus areas of our strategy. Next slide, please. And these 6 focuses are that university, through education, research, and services, offers a contemporary Christian proposal to the person of the 21st century. University shapes narratives for Ukraine and about Ukraine and the world. University forms leaders for the victory, reconstruction, and the renewal of Ukraine. University works on healing the wounds of war. University creates personal and community relationship and develops a network of communities. And our university is a leader of modernization of higher education in Ukraine. I'll not stop on every initiative, but I want to highlight some of them where renowned personalities support us. Indeed, Mikhailo Fedorov, Minister of Digital Transformation of Ukraine, came to our graduation ceremony last year and expressed big support to what UKU does in modernization of higher education and in rebuilding and renewing Ukraine. Another frequent guest of our campus, Timothy Snyder, who together with us and not only with us promotes Ukraine on the international arena. And please, next slide. Our Miroslav Marinovich, he is probably one of the world's heritage on moral proposal for the human person of the 21st century. I'm so glad that my office is right nearby Pan Miroslav Marinovich office, and I have this pleasure talking to him almost every day and hearing his stories and his jokes. And healing the wound of war, this project at UKU was supported by the First Lady of Ukraine, Mrs. Zelenska. And this is a really interesting development for us because UKU is already known for as a role model for our educational programs. By the way, just yesterday, the Association of Developers of Ukraine, the major association of IT professionals, recognized us as the best university with the best IT programs in Ukraine. But now we aim to make a difference not only in education, but in medical treatment in Ukraine. And we are about to open the medical clinic of UKU, an educational and practical hub that offers a modern approach to therapy and a new culture of communication and interaction with patients. We are very happy that this clinic will be led by Pani Oksana Kowalska, a great professional in this. We also opened an office for veterans and their families that is led by Pavlo Koval, who returned from the service and now organize the work of the office that will be concentrated on the 4 directions: on legal support, on psychological support, on social support, on medical support. Many plans, many initiatives, but we always remember why we can plan and dream. We always remember the members of our community who died defending our country, our fallen heroes. 27 fallen heroes at Oku community, and among them, there are relatives of our students, there are graduates of our university, and we want to commemorate the memories about them. And we decided to form endowments funds for each fallen hero as a student or graduate of Oku. We want to raise 100,000 for each endowment fund to provide annual scholarship to support our students so they will remember these heroes forever. Unfortunately, one more hero was added just a week ago. Dmytro Slivka. Thank you very much, and thank you for supporting Oku, and we pray for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yaroslava, for that. I don't know about the rest of you, but I am so impressed. And every day when I hear about all these programs, on the one hand, I'm humbled and exhausted just to think about being able to do all these things, but also incredibly inspired about the good that Uku is doing today and can continue to do in the future. So just to give a little bit of life to the statistics and the report that Yaroslav so eloquently shared with us, we'd like to share with you a film that will show you exactly what happens on this magical campus we call Uku.
Second day of the orientation session, our first-year students met with Archbishop Boris. And as part of this meeting, they shared their experiences of the war. Come here, sit down before these masterpieces. Someday, you'll be able to tell your grandchildren that you were the first class that met in front of this mosaic. A group of artists and theologians finished the mosaic of the sanctuary in the University Church of the Holy Wisdom of God. It's been a month or two since we haven't worked because of the war. War, sirens, shelter. We sit in the dark. Our professors, our staff, those close to us take up arms and go, generally, to volunteer. I admire them, and for me it's very important that in our community there are those who authentically bear witness. I greet the graduates of the Social Sciences faculty. Intelligence, wit, the ability to make trivial decisions. These aren't the only advantages we have in this battle. If out of 100 or maybe 1,000 indifferent people you find one committed person, our motivation will simply grow to the sky. There is no greater love than this, to give up one's life for one's friends. In August, Olis Sherba, graduate of the psychology program, died in service. He had heart problems, and they operated on his heart. And when the war began, he went to the recruiting board. They told him no, but he was very insistent. He said, "I know, my heart knows, that my place is to defend my country." Scholarships to honor the memory of deceased soldiers from the Uku community are given to the best youth of the new generation at the university. A Ukrainian soldier in a foxhole reads a book of Timothy Snyder. Uku graduate Alexander Shirshin is in a photo seen throughout the world. The noted historian and his readers met within the university's walls. We live, work, study, and create thanks to our defenders on the front lines. So our task is to help Ukraine's victory, heal the wounds of war, and rebuild and modernize Ukraine. Graduates and students of the Faculty of Health Sciences work in centers for rehabilitation and prosthetics. UKU is moving in a very good direction in its approach to this work, in good strategic choices, for example, certain methods with patients. You know that you can return to your professors and ask when you don't know something, because it's normal not to know something. It's better to ask than to be unsure and do something that's not necessary. The Institute of Mental Health, together with a team of First Lady Olena Zelenska, developing a national program of mental health for Ukrainians. Responding to the request of the UGCC Synod of Bishops, UKU professors took part in developing the educational program Healing the Wounds of War. UKU is building a network of global academic solidarity and support of Ukraine in wartime. The number of students who have received the experience of international study, internships, and volunteering have doubled. Students spoke to more than 5,000 participants from more than 100 countries, and their high level of academic training makes them co-creators of global solidarity for Ukraine. UKU Foundation in Wrocław will help develop solidarity with Ukrainians in Poland. We are starting a branch of UKU, which will not be an educational institution, but rather a representative of Ukrainian culture in Poland and, at the same time, an intermediary between Ukraine and the European Union. Tiny UKU is one of the top 5 Ukrainian institutions in the number of international partnerships with Erasmus+. As of today, the university has made two-way agreements with more than 100 other universities. Particularly close cooperation has developed with the University of Notre Dame in the USA. The University Senate elected Dr. Taras Dobko as UKU's new rector. I have my own motto, and it's a combination: aspire to greatness, but also learn how to rejoice in small things. An UKU delegation made a series of visits to eastern Ukraine. The area of academia has an awareness and a desire to cooperate. That is, people understand that only by working together can we overcome the challenges of war, prepare for the post-war era in the country's life, and be able to make our contribution to post-war renewal.
Зробити внесок в післявоєнне відновлення можна лише співпрацюючи разом.
6 закладів вищої освіти
6 institutions of higher education have joined in the alliance of Ukrainian universities, which will strive to renew and rebuild Ukrainian communities.
літні мовні школи.
After a 3-year hiatus, summer language schools were held in person again.
I've been wanting to do something for Ukraine for a long time, since the beginning of the war, and I am not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I'm not a soldier, so what could I do? This was a good opportunity for me. I'm a teacher, so I came to teach.
350 students and approximately 50 volunteers from Europe and North America took part in 7 schools. Students and graduates of UKU conducted mobile schools for children of deoccupied villages in the Kharkiv region.
Наші діти пережили окупацію, тому живе спілкування.
Our children suffered through occupation, so communication, expressing their thoughts, and sharing their thoughts about the world around is very important for them. We came upon some small problems. Children in 4th grade had never been to school. The coronavirus started, and then the war. They don't know how to work in a team. They don't know how to work with a teacher. Today we talked about how to correctly sort garbage, what ecology is, and how it's necessary to take care of the earth so as not to pollute the environment. You lead classes, and you know what? As a rule, teenagers spend a lot of time on smartphones. And I say, how much time didn't you sit on your telephone? And they answer me, 6 months, because there was no connection during the occupation.
свідчити, служити, спілкуватись.
Witness, serve, communicate. We've always stood for this. And certainly this won't leave you, even when you leave the university's walls. That's what you carry inside yourself all the rest of your life. We came here, clearly, to become better. And why get better? Here we return to the Ukul ethos, based on witness, service, and communication.
Подібно як смальта.
Like a mosaic in a sanctuary is created stone by stone, so, person by person, the university community is created. Consciously, or simply somewhere in their hearts, our defenders know that eternity is on the other side of death. Our university was founded, dreamed of, by people who believe in eternity.
There you have it. Witness, service, and communication. Those words speak so truly of Ukul for the past 30 years and 30 years into the future. And I'd like to be able to share with you now the opportunity to hear directly from one of the students at Ukul. It gives my pleasure to be able to introduce Maria Hryzyshin. She is a third-year law school student at Ukul, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her work and how she lives those three words: witness, service, and communicate. Maria, передаю слово.
Слава Ісусу Христу! Glory to Jesus Christ! Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you. Thank you for the chance to witness to you now, because it's an immense pleasure for me. My name is Maria Hryzyshin, and I am a third-year Ukul Law School student. Today, I want to share with you my experience of war, my story that has lasted for 2 years, and the story of my university that has been with me all this time. This time made me understand once again that the community of my university is a force that no enemy can destroy. We combined volunteering during days and studying at night. We stubbornly believed and did everything in defiance of the enemy. The past academic year was very difficult for all of us. We often studied in collegium with the light of the candles. Not sleeping all night because of air alarms, we asked the next day our professors not to cancel the exams because we were ready to take them. We were resilient. And so was our university, that withstood in July 2023 a rocket attack just on the building just across the street and remained practically unscathed. On the morning of the explosion, I was in Lviv, fortunately not in the collegium, but the first thing I did when I got ready in the morning, come to the campus. I saw smoke, I saw fragments of missiles gathering in Strisky Park. I smelled injustice. I looked at the damaged cafe just near the damaged building, and I couldn't understand how this all could happen to the place where just not so long ago I was studying, preparing for my seminars when the campus was reported to be mined. There is also one more very important thing that I want to share with you. In the summer of 2023, I was lucky enough to join as a volunteer the project that was implemented by our Ukul Legal Clinic and the Rehabilitation Center Superhumans. Our task as lawyers was to provide free legal assistance to servicemen and civilians who were treated at the Rehabilitation Center after the prosthetics procedure. In addition, this summer, I also, together with my mentors, started visiting places of compact living and communicating with internally displaced people from very different regions and areas of Ukraine. In such a way, we documented war crimes. In the course of our studying and practice at the UKU Legal Clinic, we as students also receive very important experiences. The main area of work of the legal clinic is military law. We provide free legal aid to servicemen, to their family members, to people who suffered from war, to family members of missing persons and persons who died because of the war, and also to family members and to wounded servicemen. We also have the opportunity to participate in the trips to the places where there were hits and to document war crimes, seeing them with our own eyes. I already have experience of communicating with very different people, and this experience is often not the easiest one. Tragic stories of our clients so often touch the depths of our souls to such an extent that it becomes hard to hold back the tears. For example, once we were working on the case of the woman whose son died on the battlefield, and no one had heard about him, nothing, for almost 2 years, and his body was not found. So when we helped her with getting permission for legal exhumation of the body, her son's body was found as a result. This story shows us that we cannot bring back the life of the fallen hero of Ukraine, but at least we can help mother to get the chance to bury her son with honors and to visit his grave later. These are our realities, and we live with it. I admire Christina Kovtun, the head of our legal clinic and advocate specializing in military law. I'm actually inspired by her incredible dedication, by her willingness to sacrifice and tirelessness when it comes to helping people. I want to be like her, and I understand clearly that everyone at UKU is like her, and it amazes me. Ukrainian Catholic University for me, is an environment of joint search and witnessing the truth. It's about an inseparable connection between this truth and human freedom. Here, I confidently learn to be ready for the challenges of our time, and I have a constant opportunity to live the experience of service. In today's world, filled with hostilities and grief, we need to help each other. Thank you so much for your work and for your support. Only in unity is our power. Therefore, I sincerely urge you not to stop supporting Ukraine and Ukrainian Catholic University, because it's very essential for us. In such a way, you not only contribute to the educating of young, patriotic, and conscious Ukrainian generation, but also make our victory closer. Thank you so much again, and glory to Ukraine.
Thank you so much, Maria, for those very moving words. You know, every time I listen to these kinds of stories, I think it's difficult enough to be at university. It's a time in people's lives where they're learning a lot about themselves, and to layer on top of that the volunteer work and the volunteer work and the other things and academic work that you're managing at the same time, personally navigating the emotional and the physical challenges of war. Very, very impressive. Thank you for sharing that story. So we have another student to share with you her experience. I'd like to introduce Olha Bardyuk, who is a student in the Master's Clinical Psychology program. Olha, próximo do slovo.
Thank you so much, and glory to Jesus Christ. My name is Olha Bardyuk, and I'm a first-year master's student in the clinical psychology with the basics of psychodynamic therapy program at UKU. I joined the UKU community in 2019 and have been deeply involved ever since. My journey through education went through challenging times, including periods of COVID-19, online learning, and later a full-scale invasion. As a third-year student in the Bachelor of Psychology program, I vividly recall the fear and panic that often consumed me. However, among these difficulties, I found comfort and support within the UKU community. On February 24th, 2022, our Service Learning Center, Poradnya, announced the recruitment of consultants and managers for a new crisis counseling direction. This opportunity resonated with me deeply, as I felt confident to offer my assistance and witness the invaluable work of specialists. My role as a manager opened my eyes to the challenges faced by Ukrainians, while also highlighting the values UKU teaches. Through this experience, I gained a profound understanding of humanity, the importance of spreading compassion, and how I can contribute to society with my knowledge and skills. I formed meaningful connections with inspiring people who taught and supported me, fostering my self-confidence to share my expertise and empathy with others. Later, our center expanded its focus in response to societal needs, including aiding internally displaced people and refugees with support from foreign partners in Freiburg. Additionally, I engage in lecture format as both a manager and a lecturer. I witness the tangible impact of the center's efforts not only from words of gratitude, but also from numbers and statistics. I observed firsthand how professors at UKU share their knowledge with students, constantly seeking innovative approaches to teaching. The sense of community at UKU became evident as I collaborated with various departments, seeking and providing assistance. Within this university environment, I encountered incredible people who inspired me. Consciously choosing to remain in Ukraine during the war, I am committed to advancing the field of psychology and my personal growth as psychologist here. The supportive atmosphere at UKU played a central role in my decision to pursue the master program here. I know that the war changed me, but it could not take away from my life the most important thing, the community in which I live. And now I am in a different role, no longer manager. I began to hear and see the real suffering of people. The clients of the center shared with me their pain and fear caused by the war. I hear how very young people are constantly thinking about their own death and the death of their loved ones. What panic do they feel when they hear about terrible news? How do they feel that they have to do everything right now because there may not be tomorrow? Because all of the suffering, they are forced to make a huge effort not to close in on themselves. They still manage to learn, develop themselves, and help others. I hear from people that being at UKU changes their lives, just as it changed mine. I'm incredibly excited and grateful to see firsthand the big impact such a small university has. I still remember one student who came from the east of Ukraine to study here in Lviv. From the start of full-scale invasion, she was a volunteer. After classes, she went to help weave nets, then make trench candles. And after all that, she went to aid centers for internally displaced people. But when she got home, she faced the reality that her family was still in great danger in her hometown, and she could not help them. When we were working with her, we understood that a big part of her helping was from feeling helpless, from wanting to help her relatives. In our consultations, she was learning to accept that feeling and balance it with her own life, her wants, and her needs. Now she's still volunteering, still worrying about her loved ones, but at the same time, caring about herself and accepting her struggles. I learned a lot from her about her strengths and passion, and I always try to remind myself that when time goes dark. I sincerely thank the university community, donors, friends, fellow students, and my team at Poradnya for their unwavering support and love. Without their kindness, navigating the realities of war would have been far more daunting. I am filled with gratitude that my life's journey led me to this path. Thank you, and glory to Ukraine.
Thank you so much, Olu. What a wonderful service you are providing for your community and for Ukraine, even as you're learning. I think we can see that the service philosophy and the mission of UKU is reflected in every aspect of the university within the whole community. Thank you so much to both Maria and Olu for sharing your stories. You are, I can't imagine a whole campus of over 2,000 students like you, what change that can make in Ukraine. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. So now I would like to, as our final speaker, would like to introduce to you Metropolitan Archbishop Boris Gudjak. He has been and continues to be our guiding light for UKU. He was the founding rector of UKU and has continued to play such an important role in building this organization to be what it is today. He currently serves as the president of UKU, and I think UKU will always be in his heart, even as the leadership team continues to grow, and we now have our third rector of UKU. So without any further ado, a gentleman who really doesn't need any further introduction, however, Archbishop Vladika Boris. Thank you.
Дякую, Annette. Thank you. Slava Isusu Christu. Glory to Jesus Christ, dear brothers and sisters. I just kind of want to report a little bit. I have had the privilege of going back to UKU 10 times since February 2022, and sometimes staying for a bit of a longer period, and in the summer, in the winter, fall, spring, meeting with students, with faculty, being at a summer school. And there's a lot of good things to report, despite the tremendous losses. Taras already mentioned that there's 28 members of the UKU family that have given their lives. And it's every few weeks, there's a heartrending funeral of a fellow classmate, of an alumnus, of a staff person, of a father, of a brother. These are very profound losses. They are not only in UKU, they are throughout the country. There's many people that are injured, including our graduates. But I am time and time again inspired by the resilience, the courage, and the desire to move forward. This year, like in the past years, UKU has basically attracted very talented students in great numbers. So many universities, because so many young people have moved out of the country, and because there's kind of a demographic trough, actually programs are closing in universities because there's not enough students. At UKU, almost all of the programs are filled to capacity. And for some programs, there's 5 to 10 candidates. So there's talented students, and most important, there are students, and the students are committed. Right at the beginning of the academic year, I had a meeting with all the incoming students, the incoming class. There were about 440 young people in the church. Actually, that little clip at the end of the video was from that meeting. And I listened more than I spoke. I was profoundly moved by the focus of young people. War takes away people's youth. And that is very sad. But the Lord continues to work in even such a loss becomes a new opportunity. And our young people are becoming mature very quickly. They have been pushed, catalyzed by the cataclysm to focus and to see what is important in life. I don't know how many people spoke because I passed the mic around, maybe 20, maybe more. Each of them said something that was not frivolous, that was not superficial. It was all conditioned by the war, but maybe I would synthesize it to the following. I'm not going to let Putin take away my education. I have the privilege to study at this university. I'm just beginning. I'm thrilled by the buildings, by what the programs look like, but most of all, I'm thrilled by the community, spilnota. That's the word that was mentioned the most. And I'm going to get a good education and develop my moral character and my intellectual and other capacities to help this country, to help rebuild this country, to build it in a new way, not rebuild what existed, but build in a new way. That was very impressive to hear that time and time again said in a very personal way. Of course, afterwards, there's the individual conversations that you hear about the tremendous personal loss, the deaths in the families that have lost everything, the students from Eastern Ukraine, people separated, from their parents and siblings. But there's the resolve. There's all of the volunteer programs that we're hearing about, the healing of the wounds, a program for the veterans, a program for mental therapy to deal with the traumas of the war. All of this in a dynamic time. The world is changing very quickly. We can see in the church, we can see in business and politics. 2 or 3 years is an epoch. And it's hard to keep up, but Uku is on the move. And it's dynamic, it's creative. One of the most important things that has happened since our last conversation of this nature is the fact that Uku has had a leadership change. We can see what is happening in the United States around the question of leadership, how society tears itself into pieces, how there's a lust for power, a grab for power, violence around power. Most of the wars in the world, including the war against Ukraine, is a war for power. It's Adam grabbing that fruit that leads to death. A lot of people don't realize that there's been a change in leadership at Uku. People don't talk about it because it was seamless. Father Bohdan Prachu did an incredible job for 11 years, during which the university tripled in the number of students, faculty, buildings, programs. Father Bohdan, very calmly, very peacefully, in an integral manner, introduced Taras Dubko into the leadership position. All of this was in consultation, broad consultation throughout the university. There was consensus. Everybody was for the leadership of Taras. And we're well into this first year of Taras's service, and the university is moving forward. The strategy is very carefully considered. The budgeting, which priorities should be really emphasized and realized. One of Uku's big problems is that everybody is coming and say, can you do this with us? This needs to be done. Why don't you try this? I got this great idea. And for Uku, the question is not always what to do, but what not to do, because so many partnerships are proposed. All of this is given great consideration. And the beauty of the community is maintained. What struck me probably the most were the smiles. That despite the devastation of the war, when you come into a building, when you meet students, when you talk with faculty, people enjoy being together. They value it maybe even more because of what is happening on account of the war. But UKU is in very good shape. Maybe this is the most challenging, but also spiritually, intellectually, the most fruitful semester that students have. I don't wish a war semester on anybody. But I think our students and our faculty, the leadership of the university have risen to the occasion. And it wouldn't be possible without the support of generous benefactors. I've gone 10 times. Dear friends, I encourage you to go. The worst thing that can happen is you can be killed. You know, many of us have more behind us than we have ahead of us. So far, no benefactor, no visitor has been even scratched. But Ukraine is now the epicenter of global change. And UKU is a beacon for all those who are looking for change, whether it's President Zelensky or his wife, whether it's soldiers and veterans, whether it's educators. 35 rectors were at UKU just a few days ago because they want to learn, they want to be in this atmosphere. I encourage you to go. You'll be safe, you'll be in the Lord's hands, and you'll be able to come back and tell many people about what you saw, about what you support, and what you want to continue supporting. So God bless our students, our faculty, our leadership, and may the Lord reward hundredfold our generous donors.
Great. Thank you so much, Vladika, for those inspiring words and encouraging words, and also that context about how UKU is, and continues in the future to meet the moment for Ukraine. Whatever challenges are thrown its way, UKU has a vision, UKU has the leaders, and UKU has the students and the community to be able to adapt, react, and move forward and play a vital role in the current situation in Ukraine and in the future. Thank you for that, Vladika. So with that, we conclude the formal portion of the program. Before we move on to the Q&A, and I've seen some questions popping up here and there, I just want to share with you that if you are inspired, and I hope that you are, we've had shared some amazing stories here today, please do consider supporting UKU. There are many ways that you can support, no matter where you are in the world. If your support is about financial support, then by all means, if you can't see what's on the slide, please take a look at the chat. We have all the links also appearing in the chat. And, you know, financial support is so important. Doing what UKU does, making such innovative projects, staying true to its mission of service learning is not easy, but they continue to do it. And the more we can support them, the better. Supporting UKU has never been more important than now. And in addition, you've seen I saw some chat comments about visiting UKU. Vladika Boris has encouraged everyone to visit UKU. If you're considering that, on March 14th, we have another webinar that I'd like to share information about called UKU and You, where we will cover all the different ways that you can get involved personally as a volunteer, as a mentor, or in other ways, virtually, online, in person. You saw in the video Anne Chateau, the French teacher who had participated. And we're getting ready. There's a class going over in May, a group of volunteers that are going over. If you'd like to learn more, please do join us March 14th at noon Eastern Standard Time. If you're looking for information about it, please visit on our website or our Facebook page, and you'll be able to find the links and other information for it. Okay, so without further ado, how about some questions? Christina, where are we with the questions?
No questions for now.
No questions for now. Would anyone care to ask any one of them, whether it's Vladika or Yaroslav Pritvola or any of our student speakers, anything? Or have we just so impressed you all and you're all thinking about how you can get involved and what else that you can do to help Ukraine? I know I'm planning a trip. I hope to get over to UKU, to the campus in June. It's been a while since I've had a chance to visit the campus, and I'm really looking forward to seeing people. Okay. Would anyone care to make any final words? Taras or Yaroslav or Vladika, do you have any final words that you would like to share with the group before we move on?
If I may, I would like really to reiterate what Vladika Boris said and invite you to come. So your presence is important. Last year I had a chance to go to eastern part of our country, and I heard from people there that this moral support, the support of being present, is really a source of strength and resilience for people. And one of my colleagues, Lyubomir Tarnovsky, he just came from Kharkiv, and he told that people there, despite all these bombardments, they stay strong. They would like to persevere and to win, this war. So please come to UKU in Ukraine.
Great. Thank you for that, Tarase. Well, that will conclude our webinar for today. Everyone who registered for the webinar, also, if you're interested in more information, you should have received a red report, which was recently sent out, which details a lot of the initiatives that you heard about today. So if you want to also check the UKU website, check the UKU Foundation website, and please consider supporting UKU. Your support for UKU is support for Ukraine. Ukraine and UKU meets the moment, so please do what you can. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you being with us here today, and we wish you all a good evening and a good rest of your day. Thank you so much. Thank you to our speakers as well. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.